Hey there. Welcome back to my Conversations with No One, where I attempt to share my experience of living in a state of non-identification with my character and duality. Today I'm interested in discussing how my paradigm shift changed my relationship with my emotions. I'm happy to say I have not transcended emotion, nor do I want to. I feel that would be detrimental to my dual experience and even dangerous, as our emotions are important chemical changes in our bodies that give us a lot of useful information about our dual experience, and to not have this tool entirely would change my dual experience in ways that would most likely cause suffering to myself and to others, especially those who are completely immersed in duality. But my relationship with my emotions seems to have passed through a few stages in the 9 years since my shift. In the very beginning, I became extremely introverted and depressed, I guess. I was in shock after my unexpected ego destruction and had lost that fanatical belief in my thoughts and feelings. I questioned every emotion that threatened to rise up because my personal dual experience had ceased to matter to me. If I felt sad or lonely, it felt like ego and selfishness. There was no me, so the me wasn't experiencing anything real. It took me about 9-10 months to process all of that and accept that this was simply liberation from being controlled by my thoughts and emotions, and part of the process of learning how to experience and express them intentionally. And what followed was a very intense 5 years or so where I felt everything as intensely as I used to when I was a small child. My shame and cynicism had evaporated, and I was completely free for the first time since being a child to feel all the feels without the filter or blockage for my decades of collecting opinions and ideas. I cried watching cheesy moments on TV shows or in movies. I became entertained by everything and simply enjoyed being alive and having all of these experiences. And I let myself love freely without conditions or need for any reciprocation. At that moment, love was everything. And all of life was painfully beautiful. Now I see this as a state of euphoria that's often embraced as the end-all be-all of enlightenment, a stage described as reaching nirvana. But it's one now that simply feels like the inevitable duality reaction of being liberated from everything we've created to keep us from being our authentic selves. The weight of everything we've been carrying is suddenly gone. It's the flushing away of all the toxic gunk we've collected over our lifetime of conditioning, and a complete escape for the first time from the shape that we twisted ourselves into and locked in place. The sudden understanding that we can be and do everything is a powerful release of unlimited potential we've suppressed, and it feels like a volcano of cosmic energy exploding through us. And in those moments, we're powerlessly swept away by the immensity of it all. And that this stage would be considered to be enlightenment is understandable. Anyone who experiences it can be forgiven for making this assumption, because the experience is completely overwhelming. It's everything, always. And I can also understand anyone who is experiencing this would want to stay in that state for the rest of their dual experience. It's euphoric. It also seems a bit dangerous to me and without balance. From my current perspective, dual experience is only important when it interacts with the dual experience of others. In this euphoric state, it's easy to create and cause suffering in others because we're once again immersed in the story of ourselves. We're still addicted to external stimulation that gives us our fix of serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline, and endorphins. The 5 drugs we're all hopelessly hooked on. And that controls the behavior of the character. It influences our actions heavily. Celebrating the experience of the me is beautiful, and I'm not discouraging anybody from that experience, but ultimately it's just another story. I mean, I'll be honest, if I had had the choice, I probably would have chosen to stay in this state as well. But this euphoric experience also perpetuated a lot of suffering in myself and others in those 5 years when I was experiencing it. Despite my liberation from attachment to my emotions, I was still on the roller coaster, the extreme highs and lows. I lived intensely in every moment, but without regard to the consequence of the experience other people were having. Because all of the consequences were simply more intense experiences, and I loved all my dual experiences with a passion. But one day, I guess I just rode that roller coaster for the last time. the amazing thrill of the ride was also exhausting. And I realized just how much of it was just more of a distraction. Every high led to a corresponding low, and the higher the peak, the deeper the valley. And I was creating this ride for my own enjoyment because it made me feel alive, important, self-satisfied. I was fully embracing the beautiful miracle of duality, and that's a wonderful consequence of waking to non-duality. But for me, it was only a part of the journey. I think I also understood that at this moment that I was the only one responsible for my feelings. And for me not to take responsibility for them was selfish, because they only exist in my delusion of me. And therefore, there's no need to subject others to them without their consent and without intention. I was still free to feel as deeply as I wanted, and I still listened to my emotions to inform my actions, but I just couldn't let them control me with desire for external solutions anymore. And so, one more time, I suddenly and unexpectedly found myself with a new relationship with my emotions. I no longer sought out the extremes. If you made a graph of my emotions, I would say a graph of like an energy waveform. I'd say it went from a frantic higher frequency, more waves appearing higher and lower. It changed from that to a calmer, slower frequency. Like my engine before this had been constantly revving up, and now I'd reached a state of peacefully idling. I still experience my full range of emotions and enjoy revving my motor whenever it's appropriate, but I'm not driven to keep my foot down on that pedal or interested in seeking out situations that require that. I coast through life now, moving much slower, but with more intention. When the road becomes challenging or exciting, I embrace the ride for what it is and feel all the things I'm feeling, but this road I'm on can't only be that, or I'm in danger of subverting my journey based on my ego's desire for entertainment or meaning, just for the thrill of my duality. Now, that's not to say my journey needs to be completely free of diversions. I happily explore whatever scenic road presents itself and allow myself to get thoroughly distracted by my character for however long it feels right. All the amazing experiences or difficult challenges, they're, I don't know, sort of like rest stops. I mean, the opposite of rest stops, but maybe side quests. And I honor those for what they are. I don't need to be constantly moving forward or deeper into my experience, because now is perfect. I'm not in a hurry to get anywhere. There is no destination. And when these amazing or terrible moments come to their natural conclusion, I don't have a need to try to hold on to them or a desire to search out the next one and the next one after that. I really love the saying that it's the space between the notes that creates the music. And I guess I feel like I exist in the spaces now, and the notes just simply happen. But all that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if this stage is just another transitional one, as the last one was, all the others have been. And I admit I've seen signs that I might be beginning to become more interested in playing around with creating some notes again, but who knows? Definitely not me. I don't know, finding out things as they slowly unfold. It's quite the enjoyable experience. Thanks again for listening, joining me here, and I'll talk to you guys later.